people and events in our lives, connections that create a fabric, if you will, that serve as a safe place and a safety net for us in difficult times. Noreen, if you would. Change the slide. As human beings, we're biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to connect with each other, mostly in order to meet three basic needs that we all have. Those are to love, to be loved, and to belong. And our brain functions in such a way that it helps us achieve those connections. It builds resilience, and it is strengthened by giving and receiving. You can go to the next slide. We have mirror neurons that are in our brain that allow us to see what's going on with the other person. And we've all had the experience that we would watch somebody, maybe slicing, something in the kitchen and cut their finger, and we react and go, ow. That's a mirror neuron at work, where we recognize pain, we recognize feelings, we recognize things in each other as human beings. We identify with someone else's experience or feelings, and it connects us. Our brains recognize this, even if consciously we may not. Next slide, please. There are plenty of benefits for social connection. We're generally healthier, have less illness, less depression, anxiety. For the most part, we're happier people when we are connected with others than when we're disconnected or isolated. And that's especially important now in that we're dealing with social isolation. That's a choice and something that many of us are not used to, and many of us are used to connecting with people more readily than we are. I live alone, so it's interesting for me to not be connected with people I'm used to being connected with, Monday through Friday and also on weekends. Change the slide, please. Compassion for self and others is a key to healthy connections. And helping others is important, and it helps us, but self-care is important, and it connects us with ourselves and with others. There's a study about 2-year-olds, and that they believe from that study that they've concluded from that study that our capacity for compassion is an innate capacity. And 2-year-olds are noted for being self-absorbed, and they're in their own little worlds, and everything's about them and revolves around them. And in this study, the 2-year-olds were in a room with researchers, and the researchers were building, things with blocks, Legos. They were in trouble and needed help with whatever it is that they were working on and or trying to do. And they found that the 2-year-olds' immediate response was to go and try and help. Now, clearly, that's an innate response that we unlearn at some point in our lives. And maybe we're all at a point in our life now where we're trying to relearn that, our compassion for each other is what humanizes us and also what connects us and keeps us healthy. Next slide, please. The feelings that keep us close to each other is a core psychological need. And our connections are not only to individuals, but also to groups. Belonging is also strengthened when we connect with people and when we connect with groups. And we may get sick in isolation, and isolation kind of encourages that process. But we generally get well in community. Next slide, please. There was a study that indicated that 1 in 10 of us are lonely much of the time. There was also another study that was conducted that indicated that 25% of us, American adults, don't have someone in our lives that we can go to and feel comfortable with sharing a personal problem. Loneliness is also one of the main issues that's cited for why people go into therapy or into or out of counseling. Even biologists say that social isolation is the strongest risk factor for us out there. Next slide, please. We don't accomplish anything in this world alone, and whatever happens is a result of the whole tapestry of one's life and all the weavings of individual threads from one to another that create something. Our connections keep us accountable, motivated, supported, helping ourselves, helping each other, asking for help, giving back are key to our well-being. Next slide, please. Research and data can tell us a lot. Stories reach us at a more important level. Information has provided an outline for today, what's important about social connection, why we're talking about it, how it keeps us healthy. But for us, the more important part of today is Melissa's story, which will provide the color and the meaning to that outline. Next slide, please. If anyone would like to talk further about this issue or about any other issues that are going on or something comes up for you, please feel free to call us. We're a free and confidential service. The number is there. You can send us an email. You can call anonymously or email anonymously if that's helpful to you. But we're here for you, and whatever it is you're going through, you don't need to go through it alone. What I would like to do is introduce the color and texture and meaning of our group tonight and introduce our speaker, Melissa O'Mara. Melissa is a licensed attorney in the state of New Jersey and a person in long-term abstinence-based recovery from drugs and alcohol since August 30th, 2011. A 2014 graduate of Centenary University and a 2017 graduate of New England Law Boston, Melissa is a committed legal professional and an addiction recovery advocate dedicated to finding solutions to the drug use crisis. As an assistant Burlington County prosecutor, Melissa is assigned to the grand jury screening unit and also tasked with overseeing the Straight to Treatment Operation Helping Hand Municipal Court Diversion Initiative and various other recovery initiatives implemented by the Burlington County Prosecutor's Office. She has also been an active member of Burlington County's LACADA, recently being elected to vice chair, and works closely with the Sheriff's Office Hope One Mobile Response Unit. Melissa is also the co-chair of the New Jersey State Bar Association Lawyer Wellbeing Committee. Her goal in her legal career is to use the criminal justice process to hold offenders responsible while also supporting rehabilitation. She believes that a holistic, collaborative, evidence-based approach not only benefits the individual, but also serves to protect the community and reintegrate offenders into a law-abiding, fulfilling life in recovery. Melissa, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Nancy and Noreen. Thank you for assisting me in my technical difficulties getting onto the Zoom call. And thank you to all of you who are joining us on this fourth day of Lawyer Wellbeing Week. Today, I want to share with you just my process of connection in my legal career, my recovery from drugs and alcohol, and throughout my personal life. The reason I wanted this to be a more informal, personal webinar is because I frequently attend these webinars, and I want to know how individuals utilize the tools that they're giving me in their own personal life. And I find that they're frequently left out. So when given the opportunity to participate, I jumped at it. And so what I'm going to try to do is share with you who I am and how I became that way, and also why social well-being is not only going to help you in your practice, but in your personal life. So what is social well-being? I think Nancy gave us a really great introduction to what social well-being is, but the National Task Force on Lawyer Wellbeing has this little definition. Social well-being is the building, connection, belonging, and reliable support network contributing to our groups and our communities. And so what I'm going to do over the next 20 minutes to a half hour is just share with you how I've been able to do that and what parts of my life have enabled me to be connected to the world that I live in. And so that all started back in August 2011. Prior to August 2011, I was completely and totally disconnected from people, from any type of occupation, schooling. I was in the midst of my addiction. And so if anyone knows anything about addiction, it's typically where you are isolated and alone, and many relationships that you had prior to having been diagnosed with a substance use disorder or going through addiction have essentially deteriorated or ceased to exist. And so when I got into recovery on August 30th in 2011, I had to open up my mind to how I was going to connect with a world that I had withdrawn from for a significant amount of time, years at that point. And I was introduced, after going to a detox and to an inpatient program and to sober living, to a recovery community that brought me in and was able to teach me the value of connection. And that connection was going to be the tool that I used to save my life. Some of that was through me attending some sort of treatment, and some of that was by me being associated and attending 12-step programming. While I was participating and going to meetings and trying essentially to just save my life from drugs and alcohol, I was able to meet people who were from all different social and economic backgrounds. They were all different ages, all different sexes, who were teaching me lessons that I had not learned because I had fell so far down in my addiction. And one of the main pieces of information they told me, beyond that we needed to be in this together in order to stay in recovery together, was that I needed to ask for help. And I had sort of already done that when I started my journey into recovery. That wasn't my first time trying to get into recovery, but it's the time that has shown me a long period of long-term recovery. And so again, I was encouraged to ask for help. I was encouraged to believe that when I asked for help, it wasn't a bad thing. It didn't show that I was weak, but that I was aware of who I was and the struggles that I was going through. And it really opened me up to know more about myself, but also to know more about my fellows. And so as I was going through the process of recovery, I was starting different projects on myself, learning about who I was. And at some point, someone said to me, Melissa, I was 19 years old when I got sober. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I said to them, well, I think I kind of want to be a lawyer. And those same individuals who I had gotten sober with, who had helped me get sober, really showed me that because of who I was, which was a woman in recovery of dignity and grace, that I could do anything that I wanted now that I had this new experience with life. And so they encouraged me to get into law school, and they told me to just take all of the tools that I had learned about asking for help and being self-aware and connection to not only the people in recovery, but the salvaged and beautiful relationships I had begun to redevelop with my family and my friends, and take them into this next phase of my life and into recovery. And so in 2014, I decided that I was going to go to law school. And another big shock to my system, because the decision to go to law school was going to transplant me from North Jersey, where I had spent basically my entire life, and to drop me in the middle of Boston, Massachusetts. And for me, that was really intimidating and scary, because that meant leaving behind those connections that I had made, the friends that I had made, that safety net that I had. But I knew that fear couldn't hold me back if I wanted to reach my goal of going to law school and helping people and doing what I am blessed to do today. And so when I went up to Massachusetts, what I did was I started to utilize some of those tools that I was taught when I got into early recovery. I reestablished myself within a 12-step program up in Massachusetts. I started to connect with people within the law school who were able to point me in the right direction. And one of those directions was actually to the Lawyers Assistance Program. In Massachusetts, it's called Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers. And so somebody said, why don't you go and check out what they have to offer? And part of my entire first year of being a law student, I was leaving in between my 1L classes to run over to their office and attend their all recovery meetings. And for me, it gave me that same peace of mind and also feeling of belonging and connection that I had when I was newly sober attending a 12-step fellowship. It brought me amongst a group of people who were also in recovery, but now not only were they in recovery from whatever they were in recovery from, but they were also lawyers. And so they understood the stresses of 1L year in law school. They understood the stresses of finding summer employment, all of these things that as someone who's going through that law school process just kind of gets thrown into. Once I kind of established myself in law school, I wanted to do something more, and I wanted to be able to kind of create that community that I was craving of people within my law school who were in recovery, who were doing the same thing, who had the same ideas as I did on what a lawyer should be doing when they're in recovery and, you know, going to practice out in the world. And so I participated heavily in mentoring students that came in during my second and third year. And part of that process afforded me the ability to identify not only students coming in, but also staff at the law school who were in recovery or were like-minded in the idea of getting individuals help if it was either on the defense side or through the prosecution side. And so the last 2 years of law school was really establishing this connection and this community, but also contributing back to an institution that when I first got there did not have the resources that I needed. They had some, and they were great. They connected me to the Lawyers Assistance Program. That got me through. But I wanted to build on that, and I wanted to give people an opportunity to know that they're not alone in law school. And so as my law school career started to progress, and the closer that I got to graduating and character fitness and the bar exam, I started to experience a lot of anxiety. It's not frequent that you have a lawyer, or it's actually becoming more frequent, but with a past like mine, who's coming into law school with a past substance use disorder, and with a history that I just needed to lay out to the character and fitness board and show them who I was, but more importantly, who I am today. And so through my experience with Lawyers Concerned with Lawyers up in Massachusetts, I knew that the place that I needed to turn was to the New Jersey Lawyers Assistance Program. And I started reaching out to them probably in my second year or my second semester of my final year of law school. And that was just essentially so that I could get connected, so I could learn about the process, so I could kind of quiet my nerves, but also focus on where I was going, and have them guide me through a process that I knew absolutely nothing about and was scaring the daylights out of me. And they were there for me. So from 300 miles away, when I was communicating that with them over the internet through email, and then when I finally came back to study for the bar exam, they helped me with everything from filling out the application and what I wanted to show and get through to the character and fitness board, to having me come in and do one-on-one, because at that point in my life, that's what I needed, was someone in New Jersey Lawyers Assistance Program's position to sit me down and say, like, you're not alone in this. There's plenty of people who have gone through this. And then I also was pointed in the direction of their Saturday women's meetings that they held monthly, where I could, again, just like LCL up in Boston, be able to be around people who were on a similar journey of figuring out who they were or recovery, and that really assisted and also got me connected in a state where I really had no legal network. I had no one in my family who was a lawyer. I really didn't have any close connections to anybody who was in the legal profession. And so being able to tap in to that community and have that be my safety net and kind of keeping me sane through that process was a huge deal. And I got through it. So eventually I took the bar exam, I passed the bar exam, and a few months later I was able to get through character fitness. And again, with like some dignity and some grace and, a lot of tears, but tears that were met by people who really understood and also were there to support me. And so I got licensed. I was clerking for a judge in Hunterdon County in the Superior Court in the criminal part. And I was introduced also to the State Bar Association. And during that time, I found out that they had at that point, it was called the Drug and Alcohol Abuse Special Committee. And I thought to myself, well, maybe that's something that would be up my alley. Based on my bio, you know that I have a strong passion for working with people with substance use disorders. And I was looking for people who were similarly interested in the same things that I was. And so I was able, through that experience, to reach out and to get appointed to the committee and to tap into that network of individuals. When I entered the committee, our chairperson was Kim Yanta, who's our incoming State Bar Association president. And throughout that first year, I really saw the committee decide that we were going to transition not only to focusing on substance use and alcohol use, but to transition into us worrying and caring about lawyer well-being, which is, again, for me, based on my process of recovery, is almost second nature. But to others within the profession, I found was something that was really holding them back or something that they struggled with. And so to be part of that solution and also help people who may be afflicted with a substance use disorder was really beneficial to me, but also, again, met that goal of building connections and really made me feel like I belonged within the legal profession and made me feel like I had something to contribute a year or two out of law school when things are intense and you struggle and you think, you go to law school for all this time and you come out and you don't have the practical skills that you need to be a practicing attorney. And so for me, it gave me just another avenue to validate that I was part of a community that valued the same things that I did. And those individuals that I was connected with valued me and were able to mentor me as well as help me through the early stages of my career. And so I share this all with you because all of these communities have come with me throughout this whole 9-year journey that I've talked to you about. I don't just stop communicating or connecting with the recovery community or my law school community or NJ Lab. What I do is I try to cultivate those relationships, but then also sustain them. So the people that I got to know during my first year of recovery, I still keep them in my life. The individuals in the little group of friends that I had in law school, I still keep them in my life. And what it does is it gives me the opportunity to really connect with a wide variety of people and to expand not only the world that I live in, but the world that they live in. Something that just happened to me a couple weeks ago was my grandmother passed away from from COVID-19. And I saw at that point why, again, connection is so important. And that's because I was faced with a time where I needed some support, and I needed to not only have the support from my job, but I needed it from my friends and my family members. And because of the relationships that I built, I was able to do that. So when she passed away, I was able to contact my supervisor and say, like, I need to take the day, and for her to understand, not because, of course, it's understandable when somebody passes away that you need to take some time to yourself, but because today, and the person that I am, I allow people to get to know me. So she knows me because I'm able to share things with her, and she knows me as a person. And the people that I've had in my life, if it's through law school or through NJ Lap or through recovery, all know me, and they've seen me at different phases of my life transform into the person that I am sitting right before you today. And I think that's the most important part of this social connection, is letting people in and letting people get to know you, and then giving back that opportunity to those people to get to know them. One of the other really nice things about being socially connected is the benefits of networking. So for me, and again, like, none of this, I'm not an expert on this. This is just my personal experience. And sometimes it comes second nature to be connected, but sometimes it doesn't, and I struggle with it. And one of those times that I was struggling in the recent past was when I was looking for jobs out of my clerkship. And so during that time, I thought, like, I can do this on my own. I'm going to send out my resume. I'm going to send out my cover letters to prosecutor's office. They speak for themselves. I should be able to get a job. And what I found was, going through interviews and sending out resumes, that I wasn't getting that connection that I needed with the people that I was interviewing with, or with just kind of blindly sending out information. And so it hit me one day, and it was like, maybe I should reach out to people that I know through all of these different avenues where I've been able to connect with other people. And through doing that, I was able to have a colleague who, through that social connection, became a friend, say, I know of a perfect office for you to end up in. And she couldn't have been more right. And the only reason I think she was able to determine the correct fit for me and where I was going, and kind of where I wanted to go in my career was because, again, I let her get to know me, and I let her into who I was and what I wanted to do. And so I would say, if you're struggling, if, with coronavirus, so you lost a job or business is down, reach out to the people within your network, shoot them an email, give them a call, get to know them. And maybe if it's not just asking them because you need something at this point, what I've found fruitful in my life is just reaching out and connecting with people, so that maybe down the line, when you need something, or you're in a position where you really need assistance, there's zero hesitation for them to pick up the phone. And today I'm blessed with the fact that there's so many people that if I call them, they answer the phone and they're willing to help based on my contribution to our relationship. If it's through a business relationship or a friendship. And another thing I would ask you all to do and to think about during this time, and on the topic of social connection, is about all of the law students and the other lawyers out there who are struggling. So for me, I know that anytime I have the opportunity to mentor someone or to work with someone or show them something that I sometimes take for granted, I try to do that. With the amount of law students coming out of school now with such an uncertain path, now's the time to take the opportunity to really give some of your time. It doesn't need to be a substantial amount of time, but to connect with them and show them that they belong, because I think that's going to be a huge problem down the line, because we are all just stuck at home. And so that is something I would appreciate if you would consider, and if given the opportunity, either through the State Bar Association or through NJ Lab, to reach out to somebody else and to help them get at least close to where you are today and connected just a little bit more. So what are some ideas on how you can stay socially connected? I think for me, one of the biggest ones that I use, and this stems back all the way to when I was early in recovery, is to write in a gratitude journal. And so today, I don't actually handwrite a gratitude journal, but I use an app. It's called Grateful. And what it does is it allows me to post pictures and videos on my own private thread, but then also write what I'm grateful for. One of the challenges that the National Task Force on Lawyer Wellbeing gave was that you turn some of those gratitude journals into letters, and to send them out to people and to connect with people. And I think that's so important, because a lot of the stuff on my gratitude daily app is people and places and things that I think a lot of us are frequently missing. And so sending out just a, hey, how are you doing? Or I'm so grateful for you and what you're doing, will go a long way, not only for you building social connection, but for the person on the receiving end of that. And I've heard this throughout my entire career, if that's through college and law school, and even now as an attorney, is that there's a kind of a lost art in sending thank you notes or handwritten thank you notes. And I always try to take the opportunity to encourage people or thank them. Most recently for me, there's, through a lot of the recovery initiatives that I run through my office, there's people who are celebrating 90 days, 6 months, a year of recovery. And so there was an organization who reached out just to say, like, hey, Melissa, I wanted to let you know that we have this number of people celebrating a substantial amount of recovery time. And so for me, a lot of times they don't want to talk to the assistant prosecutor, even though I am in recovery. But what I wanted to do was write them a note and just say, essentially, like, there's people out here rooting for you. Like, keep doing what you're doing. You're about to have a life beyond your wildest dreams if you stay on this path to recovery. And the feedback that I got from that was that people appreciated it. And I have found, not only through my personal experience on the receiving end, but if you show people that you value them and the work that they do, that those relationships tend to evolve into more than we think that they can be. Another thing that I would suggest to do, I know my office has been doing it, but every 2 weeks, we've been jumping on, specifically my unit, onto a Zoom call and really just having a discussion, speaking with each other, joking around, and being able to be with each other even though we can't be with each other. And so there's no work, there's no kind of agenda for us, but we're really able to just have some conversation and talk and all of that stuff that you miss just being in an office with, you know, a ton of people, that chit chat throughout the day, the how's the family, what's going on. And I would say, if that's something that interests you, I would encourage you to jump on a meeting if your office is having one. And if they're not, like, perhaps organize one and just give people the opportunity to just be amongst each other and kind of potentially see relationships that are not normally occurring because this person works on the other side of the office, or, you know, you have conflicting schedules, whatever, see those relationships blossom and see that kind of carry over into your daily work life once we all kind of are together again. And so the other thing I would like to bring up is just if you are interested in a certain thing or you want to be involved, join a committee. If this really interests you, if you learned about lawyer well-being this entire week and it excites you and you want to be a part of it, go on or reach out to me if you'd like. Join the Lawyer Wellbeing Committee. We'd love to have you. If you're interested in something else, there's plenty of committees at the state bar, at the local bar associations. There's all types of opportunities available at the Lawyers Assistance Program to volunteer and participate in. Step outside of your comfort zone, meet new people, learn new things. And if you totally do not want to be around any more lawyers, which I totally get, what I would recommend to you is go out into your communities and try to find something that you want to be a part of and that you value and that you think you would be a good asset to. So I really don't have much more to say, but I'd like to just share with you quickly a few more pieces of information on social well-being and connection. If you're interested in this topic or learning more, I watched the Adam Grant's TED Talk this morning, and it's funny and it's lighthearted, but it also shows you another side of social well-being. Like I said before, write that gratitude letter or go ahead and read the article from the Harvard Business Review article and dive deeper into this dimension of lawyer well-being if it's piquing your interest. So again, I am just so excited to be here with all of you today, and I am going to put my contact information in the chat box. So if you have things that pop up in the future, or if you want to connect, I'd be happy to connect with any of you on the webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. We're able to address some questions if anybody has any. While we're waiting for some of those to come up, there's so much that you said that resonates with me that I could probably talk for half an hour about what that is. But I think most importantly, there are a few things that come to mind. And one, a constant feeling of your humanity coming across today and this evening. And that it's not about what we do for a living or whether we're the prosecutor or the defendant, but who we are as people. And the fact that we all make choices, and some of them work out for us and some of them don't, but we can make other choices. And to do that, we need the support that you're talking about. We need to create those positive connections in our lives, not be afraid to reach out and make those connections and use them. It's very difficult to ask for help for many folks, for many of us, because we're in positions of people come to me for answers. So I can't be seen not having an answer to a question or having my own questions that I need some help and support for. So it's recognizing our humanity, and thank you for doing such a beautiful job representing that and doing that. And the second piece for me is also finding meaning in what we do. And those of you into existential philosophy know that, you know, life is meaningless, and that it's really up to us to find meaning in our day-to-day existence, our day-to-day lives, our connections to other people. And that's also one of the solutions for stress, is finding meaning in what you're involved in and changing our relationship to it. So thank you for having the other piece, the courage to speak, the courage to be vulnerable and show us through example that that's what it takes to connect to other people and to open those doors and make it easy for people to respond. So thank you for your courage. Thank you for your words this evening. And I don't know if we have any questions. I'm trying to take a look. I guess my final question to you would be, you know, are there things upcoming for the Wellness Committee that you would like to share with the folks who are here and the folks who may look at this video at some point later to get involved in, like over the next year?
Yeah, definitely. So we have the webinars that are happening tomorrow. So if anybody's available at 1 o'clock, jump on or go back and watch the rest of the webinars from earlier in the week. In the upcoming year, the Lawyer Wellbeing Committee is going to be doing a day conference. That'll be on a Saturday, most likely in January. We'll have a keynote speaker. Hopefully we can all be together in person, fingers crossed. And hopefully even doing a monthly well-being activity to keep well-being at the forefront of everyone's minds and their hearts, and also to just make sure that we're kind of breaking through that idea that we can't ask for help, that we have to do this on our own, because that is totally contrary to the beliefs of a large portion of the legal community. And so any way that we are able to get that message through, we are going to do it. We plan on doing additional partnerships with Lawyers Assistance Program. So anything that we have will be listed on the State Bar Association website, as well as potentially on the Lawyers Assistance Program website. But if you're looking to be connected, reach out to me or reach out to LAP, and we will get you connected to a program or a service, wherever it may be.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. We'll call it a night and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you again so much for your wisdom, your courage, and the example that you've set. And I think it's taking the legal profession in a slightly different direction. We're pivoting and moving in a healthier direction for all of us. So thank you for being a part of that.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. And